Okay, before we get into the scene, here's the basic information you'll need to know. I chose the scene in Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 7, The Bear and the Maiden Fair. It was written by George R. R. Martin, who also wrote the books on which the series is based, and the episode is directed by Michelle MacLaren. The conversation takes place between two characters, King Joffrey, a beloved fan favorite, if you're insane, and Tywin Lannister, his grandfather and the Hand of the King, which essentially means he's Joffrey's second in command. Now, let's watch the scene straight through first before I go into details.
Your Grace.
Grandfather?
You wanted to speak to me?
Yes. I'd like a report on the meetings of my small council.
You're welcome to attend the meetings of your small council, Your Grace. Any or all of them.
I've been very busy. Many important matters require a king's attention.
Of course.
You've been holding the council meetings in the Tower of the Hand instead of the small council chamber.
I have, yes.
May I ask why?
Well, the Tower of the Hand is where I work. To walk from there to here would take time. Time I could otherwise spend productively.
So if I wanted to attend a council meeting, I would now have to climb all the stairs in the Tower of the Hand?
We could arrange to have you carried.
Tell me about the Targaryen girl in the east and her dragons.
Where did you hear about this?
Is it true?
Apparently so.
Don't you think we ought to do something about it?
When I was Hand of the King under your father's predecessor, the skulls of all the Targaryen dragons were kept in this room. And the skull of the last of them was right here. It was the size of an apple.
And the biggest was the size of a carriage.
Yes, and the creature to whom it belonged died 300 years ago. Curiosities on the far side of the world are no threat to us.
But how do we know these dragons are just curiosities and not the beasts that brought the whole world to heel?
Because we have been told as much by the many experts who serve the realm by counseling the king on matters about which he knows nothing.
But I haven't been counseled.
You are being counseled at this very moment.
I should be consulted about such things.
From now on, I will see to it that you are appropriately consulted on important matters, whenever necessary. Your Grace.
Now, I'm going to analyze three elements of the scene: dialogue, set, and camera angles. The scene opens with an over-the-shoulder shot of Tywin, establishing that we're observing the scene largely from his perspective. We then get a shot from below of Joffrey, who is visibly uncomfortable, probably even nervous, showing the audience already how he feels about confronting his grandfather. We then cut back to Tywin, who stops, gives a somewhat annoyed glance at the King's Guard, then continues on. Again, without dialogue, we learn how powerful Tywin is and how much these men respect him and fear him, despite the fact that the guards are Joffrey's servants and were likely meant to follow Tywin all the way to the throne. We then get what is essentially 15 seconds of Tywin walking, giving us 30 seconds of this 3.5-minute scene before a single word is uttered, and yet so much has already been conveyed.
Your Grace.
Finally, once the conversation begins with Tywin addressing Joffrey, we learn more about the power dynamic. Joffrey is positioned on the throne significantly above Tywin, conveyed to us by this wide shot. We see that, at this point, Joffrey holds the power in this conversation. Tywin then says,
You wanted to speak to me.
with a shot from behind and below Tywin looking up at Joffrey, once again showing that Tywin is beneath Joffrey at this point, and thus is the lower one in the conversation, both literally and metaphorically. We then see McLaren make use of the shot reverse shot, which she does quite often throughout this scene, when she cuts back to Joffrey, this time with the camera angled down towards Tywin. However, this is belayed by Joffrey's line,
I'd like a report on the meetings of my small council.
as well as his uncomfortable demeanor, which is contrasted with Tywin's own poise and certainty of voice. It then shifts again to an over-the-shoulder shot of Tywin. Now, his head is shown to be more or less level with Joffrey's, establishing that they're more equals rather than king and subject at this point. The shot lingers for a while, maintaining the sense that this is being told from Tywin's perspective. Then, after Joffrey's statement,
You've been holding the council meetings in the Tower of the Hand instead of the small council chamber.
we hear Tywin respond,
I have, yes.
rather than defend himself to the king, he simply affirms his statement, showing that Tywin holds no qualms over his choices, nor that he feels threatened by Joffrey whatsoever. While Joffrey is giving this line,
So if I wanted to attend a council meeting, I would now have to climb all the stairs in the Tower of the Hand.
we see Tywin stiffen up. He's already preparing himself for what he's about to do. Then, wordlessly, he climbs the stairs in a wide shot that focuses on both characters. First off, Tywin makes Joffrey's complaint seem utterly ridiculous, as he does the thing Joffrey so feels he shouldn't do, climb stairs. However, more importantly, we've seen Tywin's command of the space and his ability to manipulate, as he has now firmly established himself as the holder of power in this conversation. This is reaffirmed by the shots, which now angle downwards at Joffrey and show Tywin towering over him. Now, the shot reverse shots angle up at Tywin and down at Joffrey. Then, dripping with sarcasm,
We could arrange to have you carried.
with this one line, Tywin wins the argument, wrests control of the conversation away from Joffrey, and establishes himself as the figure with power, without ever truly crossing a line. Then, from an angle that very clearly shows Tywin standing over Joffrey, completely in control, we watch Joffrey flounder for a response. He's lost this argument, and he knows it. He then shifts to another topic, his only method of recovery. However, Tywin maintains his grip on the conversation by telling his anecdote, making sure to include how much older he is than Joffrey, and thus how much more experienced. The vastness of the room is also on full display during this wide shot, further emphasizing Tywin's point about the dragon skulls and how small that last one was. Cutting ahead to the conclusion of the conversation, after Joffrey's complaint,
But I haven't been counselled.
Tywin says this line with another shot angled up at him, showing Joffrey beneath him.
You are being counseled at this very moment.
We're also shown another second of Joffrey struggling to come up with a response, while Tywin looks on stone cold. We also get this line from Tywin.
From now on, I will see to it that you are appropriately consulted on important matters, whenever necessary.
We observe just how clever he is here. Between
Appropriately consulted important matters,
and
whenever necessary.
it is clear Tywin means, you'll be counseled when I want you to be counseled. After a reverse shot of Joffrey giving a defeated look, we cut back to watch Tywin walk off the throne, before he turns around, still angled upwards this time, and says, for the second and final time,
Your Grace.
with this line, Martin calls back to the opening of the scene, and gives us a full circle ending that very appropriately shows how the power dynamic shifted. Initially, Tywin was below Joffrey. However, he ends the conversation above him, showing very clearly the winner of this argument.